Hi there, this is Shelley from Southwest Relocation, and I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the tenant fee ban and how it may affect people in the local community. Now, the tenant fee ban was brought in because agents across the country have been charging extortionate fees. There's no denying that, and just keep rolling and then I'll cut and paste it.
Okay.
The tenant fee ban was brought in because agents across the country have been charging excessive fees. So it was brought in to try and protect tenants and make rental property more accessible for them across the board. However, the legislation was quite ill thought out, and unfortunately we do believe now it's going to have the opposite effect. So instead of protecting tenants, it's actually going to negatively impact them. So really the first thing you want to think about is referencing. So tenants currently pay their agent for referencing, and under the fee ban that will no longer be allowed. So unfortunately landlords will have to absorb that cost. Now the difficulty, hang on, keep rolling and I'll pick it up again. Now the difficulty with that is
Just stop for a bit.
No, it's right, just keep rolling. I'm going to cut and paste all the... Now the difficulty with that is... What?
I thought someone was coming in because Dexter was looking.
Now the difficulty with that is a landlord is not going to want to pay more money for referencing than they absolutely have to. So anyone other than the absolute textbook tenant with very simple referencing may be seen as less favourable than... Start that bit again, I think. Now the problem with that is a landlord is not going to want to pay more for referencing than they absolutely have to. So anybody that has any quirks, any poor credit history, any guarantors needed, is going to be less likely to get the property because it's going to cost more to reference them. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the fee ban is actually bringing in a deposit cap of 5 weeks rent. And that also means that we're not going to be able to charge extra for pet deposits. Now, if you think about it this way, when you are... It's really hard.
I like the way you said that. Now, if you think about it this way, yeah.
So when you are a landlord and you're looking at accepting a tenant into your property, if you have a tenant with some pets, under the fee ban, you cannot charge an extra deposit as a security deposit, and you also can't enforce a flea treatment and a professional carpet clean at the end of the tenancy. So just ask yourself the question, are you more or less likely to allow tenants with pets in your properties in a market where actually pet-friendly properties are actually very hard to come by anyway? Keep thinking, I need to look at my thingy sheet.
Yeah, keep thinking.
So there are going to be some permitted charges under the fee ban, and they are mainly rents, deposits, security deposits, holding deposits, and default fees. And there's 2 default fees, which are the cost of replacing keys, and a charge for late rent, a very minimal charge for late rent. And the only other couple of things that landlords will be able to charge for is a change of sharer mid-tenancy and early release from tenancy. Now I just want to talk about that last one because tenants a lot of the time, they don't start a contract thinking that they're going to need to break it early, but sometimes things happen. You know, you change of job, change of circumstance, and so most tenants will approach their landlord, and the landlords are amenable because as long as they get their costs covered in finding a new tenant, then there's not an issue. However, under the fee ban, the landlord cannot charge their tenant for finding a new tenant because that is what's known as a prohibited payment. So they are much less likely to accept the surrender of the tenancy, leaving tenants with a fixed term tenancy that they need to pay rent right up until the end, and in a much more difficult situation than they would be before the fee ban. So the final thing really I want to talk about, and it's a bit of a sensitive topic for agents at the moment, is increase in fees. Now, agents across the board, across the country in fact, are all looking at their fee structures because they are going to have a major loss of income from the 1st of June this year when the fee ban comes in. There's no getting around that. So across the board, we are expecting that agents' fees will rise, and obviously that cost will be passed on to the landlord who is more than likely going to pass that cost on to their tenant in the form of a rent increase. So that means that as we've seen in Scotland, where the fee ban is already in operation, rents have risen 3 to 5% across the board, and we expect that in the next 12 months the UK will follow. So in summary, a piece of legislation which has been brought in to try and protect tenants' rights is actually, we believe, going to have the opposite effect, and it's going to have a complete negative impact on tenants in this country, and we generally are really concerned about it. But fingers crossed. Forgotten my last line. What was my last line? Keep it going a sec. Dexter, come to be in my final little bit. Dexter!
Dex! What's this?
With a biscuit to be in my last little bit.
I can't see him.
So, in summary, we are very concerned about this piece of legislation. We've rallied against it. I think most agents have, because obviously we can see the wider impact that it will have on tenants and landlords across the country, not just agents, which is what the media is currently portraying in the news. So a piece of legislation that's being brought in to protect tenants and improve their accessibility for rental properties is actually going to have the opposite effect. And I guess only time will tell as to how it will actually impact our market, tenants and landlords alike. So if you have enjoyed this video today, feel free to like our page. Hopefully we'll have some more videos coming soon on topics that you may find of interest.